$6.38. Thank you so much, Congress. Thank you. I feel like I'm a little pauper. Congress, may I have some more? No, you want some more? A little more than $6.38 per day, please. It's actually going to be less than that because obviously people aren't going to get their checks today. Who knows when they're going to get their checks? Frankly, in my view, the president should veto this. This is a ridiculous bill. Senator Cruz, I actually just saw this headline. Senator Cruz came out against it. A lot of conservatives are coming out against this. This thing is a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace of a bill. It's not just conservative Republicans who are opposed to it. You've even got some Democrats, including maybe our favorite Democrat these days, Tulsi Gabbard, who is having none of this COVID relief bill.
Hey, everybody. I just got back from having voted on the House floor on this massive spending bill. I voted against it, and I wanted to tell you why. First of all, this bill was over 5,500 pages long. We received the text of this bill at approximately 2:30 this afternoon, and we're told we'd have to go and vote on it just a few hours later. There is no way that anybody in Congress had the opportunity or the time to go through and read this bill to know exactly what was in it. I've been here long enough to see how provisions are snuck into these bills literally in the dark of night without any announcement, without telling anyone what is in it, and then rushed through in the manner that we have just seen tonight. This is the height of irresponsibility, and it is absolutely no way for the people's representatives to be able to represent the interests of the American people.
Absolutely true. Now, what Tulsi's focusing on here is the procedural aspect, the formal aspect of this, how the bill was written, how the bill was sent over to Congress, how the representatives had no time to read it before voting on it. So, yeah, procedurally, that's pretty messed up. There are also substantive issues with the bill. If you're going to have a relief bill, give people some money. Don't give them, and it really is, not everybody's going to get the money too. So it's actually obviously it's going to be significantly less than this amount. It's not going out to every single American, and it's just an excuse basically. The Congress gives a little pittance of money to the American people, and then they sneak in all of their largely preposterous plans there as well. Tulsi has really impressed a lot of us, I think, in the past 6 months. I was not one of those Republicans who was really on board for Tulsi during the primary. There were a handful of them who said, she's anti-war. I really like Tulsi. Okay, that's fine. But she's broadened out some of her political thought. She's by far, I think, the most moderate Democrat as a practical matter on abortion. She's, by the way, not even just on those sort of hot button issues, even on sort of slightly more esoteric issues that don't really get a lot of play. She's come out pretty strongly. Tulsi Gabbard is now coming out, actually, against the federal bureaucracy, the deep state, the administrative state that conservatives are always crowing on about, myself included. Tulsi Gabbard is going after those unelected technocrats and implying that in a free country, a free people should govern ourselves.
Heartless, arrogant, unelected CDC bureaucrats have decided that the lives of elderly Americans just don't count. Now, for months, the CDC has been telling us that the elderly are the most vulnerable. But now they are recommending that 100 million so-called essential workers, which means healthy people working at everything from liquor stores to telephone companies, that they can get the vaccine before our grandparents can. That members of Congress like me, we can get the vaccine before at-risk seniors can. People like my aunt, who is imprisoned in her own home because of the danger that if she catches the disease, she could die. This is immoral and bad health policy. I had planned to take the vaccine, but will now stand in solidarity with our seniors by not doing so until they can. I urge my colleagues in Congress who are under the age of 65 and healthy to join me.
I love it. I'm still not going to vote for Tulsi Gabbard because she's obviously more liberal than I am by a lot. But I tell you what, if the election were between Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Biden, it would be a no-brainer. If the election were between Tulsi Gabbard and the Clintons, it'd be a no-brainer. If the election were between Tulsi Gabbard and AOC or Bernie Sanders or whoever, it'd be a no-brainer. She is saying sensible things and she is thinking for herself, which raises this question. I actually had a journalist ask me this question yesterday. If, assuming Joe Biden does get it, the court won't come in and save the day. Assuming all of that, will there be a new coalition that forms, a kind of political reordering? So you've got the liberal establishment, which is the Biden types, aided and abetted by the squishy Republicans, all the Lincoln Project or the Romney type, those guys. Do you think that will be one coalition and that the woke left and the kind of, you could call it red-pilled or based right, could they come together and form a coalition to attack what has been disparaged as the uniparty, the Bush, Clinton, that kind of thing? I don't think so. I think that's fanciful thinking. I think Tulsi Gabbard is totally the outlier here. She should be lauded for her efforts, but I don't think that's going to happen, because the thing about the liberal establishment is they give the woke left what they want over time, slowly. The progression of the liberal establishment for the last 70 years has been to the left. It's never gone back to the right. It is always more to the left. Some people, like the AOC types, are impatient. They want this to go faster. But just look at Biden's prospective picks. They're very radical people. They're extraordinarily partisan people. They're not interested in unity and healing, which we'll find out later. You've got more prominent Democrats and Democrat helpers calling for Republicans to die, like we were talking about yesterday. And, you've got the occasional person who's waking up out of this on the left, like Tulsi Gabbard, who's saying, wait a second, these technocrats don't have the right to form our political priorities. This is so far beyond the realm of science or figuring out what works. You've now got these heartless bureaucrats at the CDC telling you that your granny doesn't deserve the vaccine because they find other people to be more favored than these elderly people. I don't think there's going to be any sort of coalition here between the woke left and the red-pilled right, because the woke left realizes where their bread is buttered. They realize the liberal establishment is much easier to work with and much more likely to give them the concessions that they want in the long run. There is a double standard here. You'll see it actually on public health. The way that skepticism of the virus and the vaccine, for that matter, is talked about will vary depending on which group you're in. If you're in a favored group, you'll be talked about with great compassion. You'll be given a lot of leeway. If you're in a disfavored group, if you're a conservative, you will be mocked. You will be castigated. You'll be coerced into violating your conscience, even on a matter as private and personal as your medical life.